Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of B-Roll by Biteable. We're here today to talk about Substack and a new feature that Biteable has created. Substack creators, by default, know how to write. They're really good authors and communicators in the written format, and Substack has a lot of great features to help expose their content to other readers on Substack. But what about when it comes to growing your audience off of the platform, away from Substack? And that's the problem that we're going to talk about today and a solution that we have for it. And to tell the story, we've got a couple of folks here with us. We've got Brent Chidoba, our CEO, who is always thinking about growth, whether that's growth at Biteable or helping creators grow in their own platforms. And joining us for the first time, we've got Jeremy Bardroff. Jeremy is our head of engineering, and he is here to talk about his insight into development of the feature. And so let's just maybe hop right into it. Brent, I think, the broader trend that I think we see is that creators need additional ways outside of the platform, the Substack platform, to grow their audience. Tell us a little bit about your perspective on that. You have a lot of friends on there, you're on there, and just maybe give us a little bit of insight into how you can come up with this idea.
Yeah, so I get a lot of Substacks. I've seen, actually, literally this morning, a friend of mine announced he was kind of going full time on a guy, Kyle Poyer, up on Growth Unhinged. He's kind of shifted to be solopreneur full time. He has a podcast and that he's helping consult as well. But I thought that was really cool. And a lot of it's, I think, probably based off of success with Substack, building that following. When you go on to Substack, the hardest part is getting that initial user base. You have to leverage your LinkedIn, Twitter, other social followings, and you see it with people trying to build up that audience and build up the cadence of communication and all that kind of stuff. I think the writing itself and the content is not easy, but that's sort of what these experts are and what the passion is. It's how do you build the following that gives you the confidence to spend more time on it, to be really good at it, to put the effort into the artwork and the marketing of it and sort of shaping your voice. And so I thought it was really interesting when I was dabbling in Substack to start sort of thinking about, what do I want to talk about? Most of what I saw was people saying, hey, can you follow me? Or like, here's how to get your first 100 followers. There's a huge group that is about writing Substacks, about getting audiences on Substack. And so that kind of led us to think about, successful folks are sharing with their social network, and how do you make something compelling in a sea of Substack, promotion in LinkedIn and the LinkedIn articles and all this other stuff?
Right.
Like, how do you get through that noise? And it's great quality graphics, compelling headlines. We know that video is something that people click on and are more willing to watch and will autoplay in the feed. And so that was sort of the genesis of, hey, there's something interesting about Substack. Articles are very structured and well thought out. What if we could leverage that content to summarize it and make something promotional? So that's sort of where this started, and, brought the idea to Jeremy, who turned it into reality faster than we could expect after I had done a little bit of testing on my own, of scraping and stuff like that.
That's awesome. Jeremy, I'd love to hear from your perspective that process that you went through to, like, when Brent comes to you with this idea and then actually making come to life. One of the things that I love to see, and being a part of, is watching that come to life, going from idea to actually, hitting a URL and seeing that actually happen. But a lot goes in to that process. I think maybe people don't fully understand software engineering, software development. So maybe give us a little peek into what that process is like for you.
Sure. Yeah. So, what's really interesting is everything we're talking about here is, AI assisted. How does the AI help us create the video? How do we use it kind of as a partner in creating content and creating visuals, creating, pretty much all the content we're creating today is in some way affected by AI. As a lot of people know, it doesn't end there either. Have really started to leverage AI in the software design process, software development process as well. Something that, 5, even 3 years ago, 2 years ago, was not nearly at the level it is today. When it comes to, putting together a feature like this, a lot of that speed really does come from having kind of a co-pilot, having a partner with you that's an AI that helps you build it. Where we started was with a replit, which was a kind of proof of concept. Hey, I know I can scrape. Web scraping is something that we've been doing for 20 plus years. It's not a new technology. Grabbing a web page and copying everything on that web page is pretty simple. The real question is, if I copy what's on that web page and give it to a GPT, what's it going to give me back? And that was in our explorations where we found was, oh, wow, it actually does a really good job and it'll give us back something pretty useful. So we went from there. We said, okay, we already have Ava, which is a tool which will take a prompt, which will take whatever kind of content we've built with the user and send that to a GPT and come back with a script. So we've built out a process of getting GPTs to come back with a script in a format that we want. So from the software development side, we have built an API which will take a URL at this point, scrape it, send the returned content off to GPT to make a summary of it in the format we expect, which is a script. And then we plug that script into our software, which, we've spent a lot of time honing. What do we need? What script content? We need some text. We need a voiceover. We need some triggers on how we want to build the visual appeal of the project. And then it builds out into our storyboard. And that's then presented to the user. There's a lot of, you could almost say magic that goes on behind the scenes because, video creation is tough. So for a user to simply have to give us a URL and then wait seconds, a lot of times it doesn't even take a whole minute. And they've now got a pretty compelling video that's been created that's in front of them that they can then tweak as they see fit. It is pretty close to magic.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I've seen, and I think I'd even take it a step further and say that I think it's not only magic, but it's like magic that improves, right? It's almost like practicing where I think we're seeing the results of it because we're using this on a daily basis, right? We have a new Biteable Substack where we summarize the articles that we're reading. Because as Brent mentioned, we are consumers of Substacks ourselves. And so we're looking at these videos and we're looking at articles and then making videos out of them, summarize them for our audience. And what I've noticed, it's too early in the morning, I haven't had enough coffee. What I've noticed is that the AI that we're using is getting better. Our implementation of it is getting better almost every day. Because I'll put an article in and the background videos, the stock videos that we're putting in for the backgrounds or for the scene is getting better. It's a closer match. I remember early on, I had to I have to go and it's close, but not close enough. And now I'm finding myself spending less time having to go look for another video. So I think that magic is actually getting better over time. Brent, I think this is just another step in what Biteable is doing in general with AI. We've done Ava, we've done instant ads. Now we've got the Substack feature. Maybe tell us a little bit how you see this fitting into our AI vision. Maybe what next steps are, do you think, for this Substack feature, or what else is top of mind for you in this area?
It's interesting. Right before we started recording, I was on a customer call with a customer in Europe. They're mostly based out of London. Had a German team member on. I think they have folks in Korea as well. And this particular person was a customer in the past, left his past role at some company a couple of years ago and was looking to bring Biteable into this new organization, and said their challenge was they have a lean team, 5 to 7 people that run B2B marketing, complex sale. How do you generate a lot of content, a lot of ideas, a lot of versions to drive people to webinars, drive people to white papers, drive people to sign up to visit them at trade shows, stuff like that. And I think, this, Mike, as like a marketer with limited resources and budget, the video content creation, video is just hard to get right. And so I was talking about shorter video is easier, right? It's just less stuff to work with, less to iterate on, less to get approved. And so how do you find these short, compelling formats that are going to drive traffic? And I think what we were talking about was, if you're trying to have a video perform the job of the white paper, it's probably going to be a bad experience, right? Like, the white paper is a white paper for a reason. You're not trying to summarize it and explain it and make a million design choices. But if you're trying to get someone to read the white paper and attract people, get your audience to notice that you're talking about something that matters to them, that's what a great short form video is for, right? And so I think for us, like, this Substack is interesting because we can take a great asset and we're not trying to repackage it as a video. We're trying to drive traffic to that article. So how do you like what Jeremy said, how do you let people paste a link into a box and then get a video back that they can post with a couple tweaks? With Substack in particular, like the whole point is driving traffic to that article so you can drive
Exactly.
subscribers and either monetize or sort of build the audience. That's all we're trying to do. And I think that expands across marketing. Like I told this particular customer, we walked through it and he was sort of amazed that we grabbed the assets from the things. It was like, interestingly, this will work for any website, but a website isn't structured as well as a blog article, which is telling you what matters, what the headers are, all that stuff. So I think for us, it's trying to solve the customer challenge of less resources, high expectations on what AI can do. How do we find use cases that you can package into relatively short videos, leverage tools like our avatars and stuff like that to just give people 5 compelling versions that they can pick from, make tweaks to, and sort of move on. And yeah, I think there's still we still have a long way to go on Substack, but it's pretty exciting if you understand the problem that the small to medium and even large creators have. How do we make that as seamless as possible to just give them another tool in their arsenal for marketing?
Mm-hmm. Jeremy, is there anything else that you're thinking about, like as you built this? Did it give you any ideas for like, how can we build something else different or better, a different feature better? Or are there any other, now that you've had maybe, a couple of weeks to reflect back on the implementation, is there anything you do different in how you put this together?
Really not much I would do different. I think we really nailed the kind of foundation of this. We went into it saying, hey, we want to grab a Substack article and we want to make a compelling, neither summary or even like a 10-second promo video for it. And I think what we found from that was we hit that use case pretty well, but we also kind of left the door open to, like Brent said, other websites.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much anything that follows a blog type structure, it works pretty well with. We focus on Substack, but users may be on Medium or, another one of the platforms, and it works pretty well for that too. Do we want to start to expand outside that? We could. I don't know that we've identified any other good formats that we want to pull in. What it's done is really kind of, it's leaned into there's a paradox in software where the less kind of options you give the user, the harder it is on the software side, because you need to do more and you need to kind of understand more of what they want. And at this point, we really haven't found a way to make it really any less options. It's simply a text box with a URL. And so we've really pared down to the user, okay, we're going to do everything. All you need to do is give us a URL and we'll figure out the rest for you. And having the platform we've already built and having the ability to essentially iterate really quickly on the GPT prompts that we have, we can find new things, we can do new things, and we can do it, at a really, really quick pace. So I think that was probably one of the unexpected wins we got from the project, but I think really sets us up really well to improve on the initial use case of Substack, but then explore new things. And that's really where a lot of the fun stuff can happen, is something that wasn't initially intended, but, gets kind of found by happenstance and becomes, the next really compelling thing that we can do with it.
Yeah. So along the lines of discovering things that you didn't intend, and there's a question coming in a second, but just I'll set it up by saying, when I was doing some more research into what are all the ways that Substack authors have to market their content and draw readers back to their website, to their Substack, because that's how they make their money, right? They monetize it by getting subscribers. Maybe most cases, there's something maybe they're selling as a course or something afterwards. One thing that I didn't really realize that's happening in the market right now is that you have video first content creators who are on YouTube and TikTok, right? As those platforms change, their monetization on those platforms has changed and gone down to some degree for some folks. So they're looking for other platforms. And so a lot of them are going over to Substack, and they're going through this process of doing written first. And now they have to streamline or leverage their audience from a different platform back to Substack. And it was an aha moment, I think, for Brent and I. We were having a conversation about how this actually can really help those people take their written content, go back to video, and then post it on that other platform. Brent, I don't know if you have any other thoughts on that I didn't share, but you and I chatted about that once before, but I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I think it is interesting. Obviously, historically, YouTube has been where people monetize really well on social. And a lot of the other networks are meant to help drive the audience to YouTube where they're going to monetize for YouTube creators. And I guess video creators, right? Substack clearly is one of the best engines for monetizing written content. And I've been amazed at how many people seem to go to Substack first for posting their podcasts and a lot of video podcasts. Because when you look through the feed, even when we're searching through the Substacks as we do our sort of daily reviews of good content, a lot of them are just video posts, which is really interesting. I think slightly different topic. You asked, like, what did we learn about this? I think the more I've dug into Substack and seen what's happening on the platform and subscribed to more authors that I had heard of but wasn't a subscriber to, I just think there may end up being the biggest winner. There's plenty of winners that can happen in sort of written and podcast and other content, but in terms of creator monetization for someone who's doing thought leadership type stuff or has some type of content, like, I just think they're innovating really, really fast. And I think for us, it's like, how do we go deeper in Substack? Because there's the typical product software question is like, do you go deep on this platform, or do you make sure you can work with every blog platform? And clearly, like, Medium's got an area where they're great and have their creators, but the more I learn about what's happening on Substack, the tools they're releasing, like how they're trying to help their audience, and there's plenty of other platforms like Kajabi and stuff like that helps certain types of creators that do great. But man, Substack, it's like, let's go deeper here. There's so much activity. They're turning into a social network. They're supporting all these media formats. Not all of them are as up to par with YouTube and video and stuff like that, but I think it's pretty amazing. So that's been an interesting thing to see. You see huge blogs moving to Substack after having their own platforms for years, which probably makes sense. Substack didn't exist when they launched, but I think that's a lot of validation that, like, this is, maybe the way of the future, if not one of the main ways.
Yeah. There's just so much going on there, right? Whether it's, like you said, the integration of the podcast, they got their notes feature. I see a lot of people talking about how notes are driving a lot of their subscribers and they're attributing revenue to it. So it'll be interesting to see, like, if more and more Substack authors are open to the idea of exploring different ways to promote their content, right? And not just relying passively on in-platform tools, but actually just spending a few minutes to do other things. I think that's going to be interesting to see. Was there anything else surprising that you guys came up with, whether it was like with how we're doing some things or learning more about the Substack platform that you guys saw that was interesting or surprising?
I mean, one thing hypothesis we had was, if you look at a Substack article, it's structured. You got tons of text to work with. LLMs are fantastic at summarizing text. So we knew that would be easy. We thought it was a gold mine that they had, that we could get all the images. So, like, almost all Substack posts and blogs in general have some header image and like a couple other images sprinkled throughout. They're not useful in videos. It's like completely counterintuitive. We're like, awesome. Visuals are the hardest part of most videos. It'll be easy with Substack, like not any easier. Yeah, it's helpful to have, but I'd say, like, I don't know, Jeremy, what do you think? Like 5% of Substack posts have a visual that's actually useful in the video. I don't know.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I think, one of the things we hadn't really thought about is the purpose of the assets and the images, and then how it would translate to, where they would fit in the video. If the value in the video is really as a promotional material for getting you to the blog post, which is where the value does appear to lie, seeing images that you're going to see in the blog post don't really align with that very well. And a lot of times they're more focal. So, like, where would you put them? Do you put them as a background? I mean, not a great background if it's a chart, because then if we're overlaying some on-screen text, it just, you're looking at saying, okay, what am I looking at here? This is busy. So really, where we want our visual appeal to be is in more abstract, more background, or wallpaper type backgrounds that lend a visual pop, that look nice, but really don't get in the way of the message that the video is trying to give to the user. And the message is, here's what my article's about, come read it. So yeah, there may be some that do have a benefit, and the nice thing is that we have them and we can provide them to you if you want to add them to your video. They're right there at your fingertips. So we've done that work for you, but we're not going to assume that we know where you want to put them.
And just to expand upon that, I think some of those, like you mentioned, like the image is from a single, maybe one single point or one paragraph, one sentence of the article. But like the scene that we're trying to represent is trying to summarize maybe, two paragraphs worth of content. And so that image counterintuitively doesn't fit that at all. But the stock footage that you can get within Biteable really gives you the way to convey that sense or that feeling of what that scene's trying to convey much better. And like you said, the charts would be a nightmare if you're trying to text overlay on top of a chart. What do I look at? It's just impossible.
You have people take screenshots of tweets and put them in there too. And yeah, it's potentially useful, but you kind of, it's hard to make sense of like, how do you display that? Where do you display it? It has to make sense with the content. So like doing that in like an automated fashion is pretty difficult. One other like interesting thing I've seen, Mike, we've talked about this too, and I think we've probably all seen it. In any of these platforms, it is shocking the kind of meta creators where I don't know what percentage of Substacks are about Substack, right? Same with YouTube. Like what percentage of YouTube videos are about making money on YouTube, right? And so, I mean, if I had to throw out a guess, I'd be like 10% of the content, maybe 20% and I think it's when these platforms can monetize this whole industry of people who want to do that, right? Like to become creators and to make their content. So, and it's help content. So it's valuable on the platform, but there's people who are primarily monetizing and creating a business about making money on YouTube, even though that is what they do. It's just sort of funny. And I think maybe that's a sign of success, right? If the platform is that big that it can generate content about being successful on that platform. And Substack's clear that is happening on Substack a lot. Like we subscribe to a ton of random feeds across different verticals. And like, there's just a lot, probably like one out of every 7-8 articles that we get is like about how you shouldn't be doing this on Substack if you want to maximize your revenue from digital products and like all these other things. It's like fascinating to see.
Yeah, I was going to guess 12 to 15% of the content is about how do you make money on that fill in the blank platform, because I see it all the time. And maybe it feels more than 15%, but I don't know, maybe it's less, but definitely feels like it's that way. And I also see a lot of like motivational content where it's like, hey, hang in there, it's a grind, you've got to put in some time, whether it's just building trust with the audience on that platform or refining your own skill at communicating and what you're doing on that platform, whatever it is. But you do see a lot of that. Here's how you make money on Substack.
I think it's like it might be like the validation of the platform. Like when you start having content authors that are writing about your platform and making enough money and subscribers to actually sustain and keep doing it, that's probably a huge signal that like that content's needed. It's obviously helping introduce new, creators into the fold. And like the fact that you see so much of it on YouTube platform is great on the monetization side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, let's pause for a second. We'll edit this part out. We're gonna have to record this a third time.
Third time's a charm. What's that? All right.
That was weird.
That was weird. I've never seen that before.
It's just the app like it just showed some error and crashed. Did yours do that too, Jeremy, or just mine?
No. You got real.
I saw the error. Brent's feed had a problem. Everything up to that point went through, it said. And then it just said, ask them to stop and then rejoin, and then we'll pick it up. So I was just telling Jeremy we'll have to do this a third time.
Yeah. Does it seem to be uploading and recording again?
I'm seeing visual indicators that yours is working. Do you see like where it says 100% recording or uploading?
Mine's showing all these 0% uploading things.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll just wrap it here, and I'll do a little wrap up, and then we'll just
let's see. Yeah, because I probably shouldn't shut this down or anything, right? It's like it's doing the motion like it's doing them, but they're all saying 0.
And you have multiple instances of that?
It says, there's 3 that say uploading codec or something. It does not look good. They all just say 0.
That's strange. Do you want to hop out and then hop back in again? Try that. Try hopping on and come back in. Jamie, we'll have to have an episode where we just talk about fantasy football.
Man, fantasy football.
I'm having a terrible year, so
Me too. I'm in last place in
same.
I'm in 3 leagues and I only really care about one because it's with all the neighbors and friends. And I'm in last place right now because my two quote unquote stars are killing me. I have Jamar Chase and AJ Brown. And it's like, you
Which
guys supposed to be my rocks, man.
you'd be thrilled to have them most
Yeah,
times,
I
right?
know. And it's just
Yeah,
like, it's funny because my brother-in-law actually lives in the neighborhood with us. And so he and I on draft night got to trash talking each other a little bit and made a bet on which one of us would just beat the other one. Like not first or second or anything, but like who of the two of us would win. As of right now, we are both in 11th and 12th place and he's ahead of me by 1 point. I'm like, do we stink? Are we terrible at this?
that's awesome.
But yeah, I gotta fix my team somehow.
Yeah. How's it looking, Brett?
Doesn't look good. Now it's got 4 things, all at 0 uploading.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll just do a little wrap here. I think we were at a good spot anyway. And we'll edit all this out, obviously, and then we'll see how it goes. Okay. All right. Well, that's a wrap for today's episode. If you are a Substack creator, this new Substack to video feature is ready for you to try. Just go to biteable.com/Substack. You can turn all of your writing into shareable videos to reach more readers, grow your audience off platform, and you'll find all the details in the show notes. Thanks for listening. Thanks to Jeremy. Thanks to Brent. And I hope you guys have a good day.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Make scroll-stopping videos in seconds. No editing skills, no creative team. Biteable AI scripts, storyboards, and builds your videos for you. Add voices, avatars like me, and more. It's all one click away. Instant videos. Limitless scale.